The source of the entire Islamic history was books. Tariq Tabari, Ibn Athir, Ibn Kathir, and Ibn Khaldun, and many more books. Almost all over the world, these books are considered as the history of Islam. The stories of all the scholars who wrote these big books of Islamic history are very interesting. After the death of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, 1400 years ago, his first caliphs, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali, may Allah be pleased with them, did not write any history of Islam because there was no need to write. Most of the companions were still alive, and they already knew the complete history of Islam. But gradually, as the companions started leaving the world, the new generation of Muslims started forgetting the history of Islam and the battles like Badr, Uhud, Khandaq, and some young people started getting influenced by the heroes of the Roman and Persian empires like Heraclius and Rustam, leaving the heroes of Islam like Khalid bin Walid and Ali. May Allah be pleased with them. Now, to remind this young generation about the heroes of Islam, for the first time, a great caliph of Muslims started this work whose name was Umar bin Abdul Aziz. As soon as Umar bin Abdul Aziz became the caliph, he called Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, a great scholar of that time, and instructed him to go everywhere and lecture Muslims about the biography of the Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. During the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz, the last few companions of the world were alive. So Ibn Shihab learned about the biography of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, from them, and started teaching it to his students so that future Muslims would not forget these great heroes of ours. And today, the whole world knows his two students, Ibn Ishaq and Imam Malik. Then Ibn Shihab wrote the first book on the history of Islam. But as soon as he finished this book, Caliph Umar bin Abdul Aziz was martyred. And just 30 years after the martyrdom of Umar bin Abdul Aziz, the entire rule of Banu Umayyah fell. And along with Banu Umayyah, the first book on the history of Islam written by Ibn Shihab also disappeared from the world. Now the Caliphate of Banu Umayyah ended from the world. But after this, a new caliphate began in the world. The Abbasid Caliphate. The Abbasid Caliphate also had many shortcomings like the Banu Umayyah. But there was one thing about them that no one can deny. The Abbasids loved knowledge so much that they would go to any extent to acquire it. In fact, an Abbasid king ended a huge war with the Roman Empire in exchange for a book by Plato. King Mansur of the Abbasid Caliphate destroyed the capital of Banu Umayyah and made Baghdad the new capital of the Muslims of the world. And inside it, he built the largest library in the world, which later became known as Baitul Hikmah. As soon as this library was created, the Abbasid king Mansur ibn Shahaba called Ibn Ishaq, a student of Jori, and ordered him to write another book on the history of Islam. It should contain the history of the entire world from Adam alayhi salam to me. Ibn Ishaq did exactly the same thing and wrote the first complete history of the Muslims under the instructions of Mansur. It was not a book of hadith, it was a book of history. But today, this important book of Ibn Ishaq has also disappeared from the world. But now the question is, why did all these books disappear from the world? Because until now, the Muslims did not know the technology of paper. And all these books were written on papyrus, which was a very expensive material in ancient times, which the Muslims used to make by mixing these small leaves, which was a very difficult task compared to paper. At that time, paper technology existed in only one country in the world, China, far away from the Muslim Caliphate. And the Chinese emperors kept this technology of paper secret from the whole world. But very soon, everything started to change. Because sometime after the arrival of the Abbasid Caliphate, The biggest war of the Chinese Empire with the Muslims took place where the army of the Muslims easily crushed the entire Chinese army, and they captured thousands of Chinese soldiers. Now, it is said that among these Chinese prisoners there were some people who knew the technology of papermaking very well, and it was from here that the Muslims started learning the technology of papermaking from these Chinese prisoners for the first time. But before that, the Muslims did not know much about its importance. But then finally, the greatest king of the Abbasid Caliphate came, whose name was Harun Rashid. And Harun Rashid knew the power of paper technology very well. He made Baghdad famous in the history of the world.